Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jim Whittington. I'm an information officer with the Pacific Northwest National Incident Management Team, number 2. You may have met our sister team, PNW3. They were the first ones to take this fire. And if you don't know much about incident management teams, we're local, state, federal folks who manage large incidents. And we're out of Oregon and Washington. So we have a number of folks where this is their home ground. And so we're pretty familiar with the country and the folks. And so we're going to try to give you a good briefing today. We've got our incident commander and our operations section chief here. And I just wanted to mention that we may, if those guys have to get up and take a phone call or even leave, don't take it personally. We've still got a lot of firefighters out there on the ground today. A lot of things still going on. And if they have to deal with something, we're going to let them go do that. However, our plan is to stay here and answer all the questions that you guys have. And if they leave, then I'll be here, and a number of other folks will be here, and we'll try to answer your questions. The reason we're using a microphone and not yelling at you without a microphone is we're streaming this meeting. There's going to be a link on InstaWeb. So if you have friends or neighbors that weren't able to make it, or the nature of this business is that we don't have a lot of lead time for public meetings. Sometimes if people didn't hear about it, you can refer them to InstaWeb and they'll be able to look at it on the web. So I'm going to insist that all of us use the microphone so we pick up the good audio. All right. With that, I'm going to introduce our incident commander, Chris Schulte.
Introduce and hand me the mic, huh? Good evening. As Jim said, my name is Chris Schulte. I am a fire chief in the city of Connell. I got into that job about 3.5–4 years ago after having been a federal employee with the Forest Service and Fish and Wildlife as a fire management specialist for 36 years or so. So I was able to stay involved with the National Incident Management Team. 2 years ago, selected to be the incident commander, and I've been very pleased with. This is our 4th assignment with the newly developed team. So it was my intention tonight to do a quick overview rundown of all the fires in the complex that we're managing, but not to occupy too much of the time, because I know the folks here wanted to hear what Lonnie and his operations folks are doing up the canyon here. So, if I may. Very quickly, the shoe fly fire here is about 100 acres now, and 2 days ago it took off and added about 25 acres. We had some 8 repellers that we had inserted in there, and they got chased out. So we are now digging some indirect line here with and opening up some road systems and getting ready to try to catch this thing and stop the eastward progression of it. On the Alpine fire down here, I believe it's 15 acres. We have 2 crews in there, and we were told earlier today it's 100% fire line, and they've got pumps inserted in there, and they're starting to mop it up. So we're feeling pretty darn good about the Alpine fire. The Chewaucan Creek fire, there's some heat on our infrared shot here, but it's all an interior burn. And then we have this little corner over here. The last 2 days in a row, it gets down here in the lower area into some really steep ground where we can't put people. And then it gets established and it runs up and it gets into the flat and it spills over the road a little bit, and we catch it and tuck it back in. So that characteristic of fire behavior is going to continue for a while. There's a lot of fuel in there, and it's just going to keep rolling down into where it's too steep to put anybody to stop it from doing it. And it's going to roll up and we're going to catch it. So that's the plan on that one. Hansel Creek, another big concern area. The Hansel Creek, Ingalls Creek down in here on the southern end. We had some troops in there for a couple days, and they were at risk of getting clobbered by something coming down the hill. They did quite a bit of saw work on some of the snags that had come across down in there, but there was a lot of stuff coming down the hill, and so we had to pull them out. And there hasn't been anybody on the ground in there because we're worried about them getting hit by a rock or a log or something for 2 days now. Fire spotted once, but it happened to spot into a place where we had built a heli spot. So we were able to put it out with heavy helicopters that you see flying around. But that still is a big concern to us. That fire on the south end just takes gravity to push something down there across it, gets established on the other side. And there's really, without putting people at undue risk, we really can't put anybody in there without danger of getting them blubbered. That fire on this northern end up here, we've got it tied in, mopped up. This east end is all mopped up. And then along the north, we have direct and indirect lines. There's a corner over here that we thought we were going to be able to get in and get much closer, and we had to abandon that. It was just not going to be viable. But we have another line that's right up over this direction, and we've gone back to that, and we're prepping it, and we're going to burn that out and try to chase it up into some natural features up there that we hope to hold. Mills Canyon fire, as you know, was exploded down there a 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it hasn't had any smoke in it since we arrived, and probably another 3 or 4 days prior to our arrival. I think I've got them all. With Duncan, I'm going to leave that entirely to Lonnie because he's been out on the ground and his staff's out there. And on that note, you don't want to do questions now, do you?
No, but
okay. Anything that you might suggest?
So I just wanted to mention that the good success we're having on Alpine is a result of the Entiat hotshots. So your local folks are really doing well on that.
Thank you. And they did it in record time too. They went in there and pinned it down very nicely. Lonnie, Duncan Fire, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lonnie. I'm one of the operations chiefs with P&W Team 2, and I just came down from the Duncan Fire. We've had a very successful day up there. We're feeling pretty good too. Now we're not out of the woods by any means, but we've had a very, very successful day. And I'll get into detail. So I'm going to start up here in the upper end of the creek, of the Entiat River.
There you go.
Okay. The Entiat River, upper end of the Entiat River and Division Yankee. And we're plumbing that with sprinklers and stuff so we can deal with this piece here on the northwest corner. We have to do that because that one's out there, you know, burning on its own. And the Tin Pan fire up here is not going to stop its southern westward progression. It'll stop the northern progression, but not the west and the southern progression up here on this end. So that's all looking really good. Down here, but this is what y'all want to hear about. Down here on this on Shady Pass. So the team before us, the Southern Red Team, came in here and they prepped the Shady Pass Road, or began to prep the Shady Pass Road. We came in, took the fire on Saturday, and we continued to do some improvements in there with some very significant fire behavior at that time. I mean, it was making some good runs. It was spotting into Silver Creek, and it was spotting into Jungle Creek, and it was setting itself up to make some pretty significant runs up into the basin up in here. This morning, with the moderated weather and the cloud cover, we started a firing operation clear up in here at the top of Shady Pass, headed down the road. And we took it all the way down to the 5901. So we're right there. We had a few spots right in here today. We were able to catch all of them. So that's good news for us. And we hung it right here on the 5901 at drop point 104 due to losing our aircraft support because of the significant thunderstorms to the south. Okay? And the fire's in a really good place. The 5901 is a good solid road. We have dozer line, as you can see on the map, that comes down through here. So we took all the switchbacks out, and we're feeling really good right now. We got a night shift that'll be out there tonight patrolling, mopping up to make sure it stays in our box for us. And we'll show them where those spots are so they can deal with those tonight. But, you know, we're really happy with what took place. We have actually about a mile here between where we come out to the road at drop point 103 back here to Silver Creek that is not closed yet. So everything else, we did aerial ignition in here and tried to close up all this. The main drainage quite riparian area, so it's not burning really well, but we're closing that up really nice. And we're feeling really good. We got a good column up there today. It cleaned itself out. So we think things are going really well. We have completed a contingency line down here on the eastern and southern edge of the the Lake Creek Basin. So we came in here and put some dozer line and put a hand line and a sprinkler line down off a rock scree in here and brought it down to the Entiat River in case this doesn't work. So right now we're feeling pretty good though, and that's the situation up there on the Duncan fire.
Thank you, Lonnie. I just thought of a couple of items that I wanted to share with you also. The first one is that all the fires in our area that we were on our delegation authority are under a full suppression. We don't have any just let it go out in the wilderness or anything. But we do have open ground and open line that we haven't had resources on because there's an extreme resource shortage in the region. So we have prioritized where we put our resources, and the result of that is that the places where it's out pointed towards the wilderness are the lower priority areas for us to put the resources. We're putting the resources on areas where we know there's communities at risk, where the resources are and values at risk are high. So we do have ground that is pointed out or into the wilderness, and with a lack of resources, we haven't got anybody on it yet. And boy, the way the lightning storms are rolling from south to north, Oregon, California, and on into Washington, they've had massive storms. I don't know that I've seen quite so many lightning storms lay up into these states the way they have in the last 3 days. So it's going to be quite a task to get resources here when there's so many other places, and all the fires are having resource shortages. So it's not something like we're just not able to get them. They're very scarce, and the type 1 crews are in demand. We're way behind on that. So I see our fire behavior and weather person is here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening. My name is Dennis Winkler, and I'm the fire behavior analyst with PNW Team 2. I apologize for being a little bit late this evening. And I'm here also to represent our incident meteorologist, our IMETs. And one thing, why they're not here is we've mentioned the severe weather that's forecasted, and you know, the whole team is here to support firefighters on the ground. But you know, the primary role of both the incident meteorologist and fire behavior is firefighter and public safety. And due to the severe weather that's approaching, you know, the meteorologist decided it's more important that they're back there monitoring the weather situation and able to give us real-time information and alert the firefighters out on the ground of this approaching weather. So they'd like to have been here, but they're not able to tonight because of the higher priority. But I'll share a little bit of the weather forecast, and you're probably aware that you know, through this evening we have a red flag watch for abundant lightning, but we also have a flash flood starting this afternoon, lasting for the next 2 or 3 days until Thursday. The system is slowly pushing in into Oregon and Washington, and it's going to on Wednesday and linger through Friday. And there will be numerous showers and thunderstorms with a high probability of widespread wetting rain. And then some of these thunderstorms may produce up to ½ an inch of rain in a relatively short period of time. So therefore the flash flood warning. And you're probably aware that when you get that much moisture on some of these burn scars, you could have some debris flow and flash flooding. So that's one of the other issues we're facing. And then that weather pattern is going to just kind of sit over us Thursday and Friday, keep us pretty cool, continued chance of wetting rains, and then start Saturday, Sunday, we'll start seeing some drier weather come in at that point. And then, so my job as a fire behavior analyst then is to take the weather that the meteorologists give us, and then I look at the fuels and the topography, where the fire is burning, and how the fire has been burning, and put that all together with their weather input, and determine what the fire is going to do next. And then with that, can Monty implement their operation safely on the ground? So we work together to provide that information for the firefighter and provide for firefighter safety. And so with the weather that we're expecting to be seeing, we do expect some moderation and reduction in fire behavior because of the moisture that's coming in and the rains we're going to receive. The meteorologist told me, at least down in Leavenworth tonight, he was 95% certain we'd see some wetting rains down there. But there's a fair distance between here and there, so I won't make his prediction for this spot. But we do expect a reduction in fire behavior. But the fuels are been very, very dry, and they're going to continue to burn and smolder through this period. Fire spread will be reduced, but the heavy fuels will continue to ignite and spread. And there's a lot of heavy canopy, heavy timber, and it's going to be hard for the rain to penetrate underneath that. So by no means is this rain going to put fires out, but it is going to reduce their spread.
Okay, thank you. Next person we have is Greg Johnson. And Greg, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Okay, great. Yep. Thanks a lot. I'm Greg Johnson. I'm one of the air resource advisors that's been brought in on these fires. We're kind of a new role. We're looking at how the fires are generating smoke and the options available for predicting that. And so there's actually 2 of us assigned to Wenatchee, and we're trying to coordinate it really over the whole eastern part of the state here. So we've got a number of fires that we're monitoring, and so every morning we are listening for fire activity, and then we are working with our folks who are doing a lot of modeling and estimating where the smoke is going to be going, and working with the meteorologists as Dennis just mentioned. And so that's really our role, and it's kind of a new one over the last few years. This is kind of an evolving thing, and so one of the things that we do is we are really looking at how smoke might impact communities. So I do have a handout, and maybe we can just hand some of these out. So just get started here and just take one and pass them back. What I've tried to do is just outline a little bit of the current situation, which has already been well described. We've had a weather situation the last few days where we've had kind of an inversion and real stagnant conditions, which have resulted in a lot of smoke in a lot of places that hadn't had much smoke before. We were talking about Chelan a little bit ago, and Wenatchee and some other places, and even down into Ellensburg was quite bad for about 24 hours. And so we've got smoke issues obviously associated with this number of fires and stagnant conditions. Things are just kind of cool here. And interestingly enough, we thought maybe things would just kind of push through and we'd be out of this, but it looks like, at least up here in the northern half of the state, we're just going to kind of linger in this stagnant condition. We're going to have, obviously, some thunderstorms and some rain. It'll be a little bit better, but we're not going to get that big flush of wind, which is good for the fires, but we're not going to get the big flush to improve the air quality. So on the sheet here, if you have one, I just included, a graph of the last 2 weeks or so of the air quality readings that we have here in Entiat, and this is a temporary monitor that was put here, and you can see that back on a week ago today, there was a real spike when you had a lot of smoke, and you tend to get this diurnal pattern where you get the down valley flow here at night, which is normal, and then you get all this cooling right against the mountains over here, so it tends to be one of the smokier places around. But then in the afternoon, that clears out. Now, for several days, that didn't occur when you had some strong westerly winds, and then more of that pattern true to form over the last 3 days until today. Then things reversed, and you had kind of this up valley flow, easterly flow over the whole region for a while, even last night. So what can I say? I think gradually we're going to finally get that more diurnal pattern setting up again later in the week and over the weekend. So you actually may see more smoke, just depending on how, of course, fire activity is. And I just wanted to close by saying, oh, and on the top of the graph, the caption says Ellensburg. You can ignore that. Look at what the graph says, which is Entiat. I'm sorry about that. But there is this website here, washingtonsmoke.blogspot.com. I just point that out to you. There's a lot of great smoke information there for this area as well as for this whole region. And so hope that you'll take the opportunity to take a look at that. I'll be here after the meeting if you'd like to discuss any of those issues, air quality issues with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Next up, we have Rebecca Franco. and she's representing the burned area emergency rehab folks.
Thanks. Hi, I'm here to talk about the burned area emergency response and what happens after fires. It's the post-fire effort that goes on, and specifically more about the Mills Canyon fire. With emergency response, the first level happens right there during the incident. At the tail end of it, the incident command management team goes in there and they will rehabilitate areas that they used for firefighting, like dozer lines or things like that. They'll go in and rehab and try to make them look like nothing's been there before. So that's the first level, and that's already happened over on the Mills Creek fire. That's standard for all fires. So the second level is the BEAR team, and the BEAR team was asked to come in, and the BEAR team consists of scientists, including hydrologists, soil scientists, archaeologists, wildlife biologists, geographic information systems specialists. So all these specialists get together, and botanists, did I say botanists? All these specialists get together, and they go out and they take a survey of the burned area to see the effects of the fire on resources. So all these people go in there looking at their own resource. So the botanist is going to go in there and look and say, okay, are there any noxious weeds in here? And the archaeologist, are there any cultural sites here that we're going to need to be concerned about? So every ologist has their level of expertise. Oh, they're engineers, and they're really concerned with roads and what's going to happen with the roads if there's a rain event that moves a soil. So driving over here, I was reminded, because I lived here for 7 years, of how steep this area is. And when you have an area as steep as what's happening around here, you know, there's a huge concern about the movement of the soil that's on those steep slopes. And how many of you have lived here for more than 20 years? Okay, and I'm sure all of you have heard about the Duncan fire in 1988. And after that fire, there was some earth movement, mudslides, etc., that really were of concern. And also after the Swakane fire. Do you remember the Swakane fire? Yeah. Did any of you personally experience movement of earth onto your property? Or no? Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. We all want rain, but we don't want too much of it at once. You get too much of it at once, and then things start happening. So our team has already gone into the Mills Creek fire, or the Mills Canyon fire, excuse me, and conducted an assessment. And the specialists wrote reports about what they thought was going on. Very briefly, the engineer said that you've seen those roads that cut across those steep hillsides. Well, those roads, if the earth starts moving and there's some kind of mudslide, they could be catchment basins and block anybody from going in or going out. So during a rain event, please be really careful when you're on those roads, because you could be blocked from going out again. So that is of concern, and also culverts filling up with debris and being crushed and creating a worse flood situation. The botanists noticed that there are 4 different kinds of noxious weeds in the vicinity. The fisheries person is very concerned about mud flow affecting the waterways for the threatened and endangered species of fish. There's some anadromous fish involved in the watersheds in this fire. And who else?
Cultural sites?
The cultural sites, thank you. The cultural sites, they did not find too many that are of concern, so they did not write any recommendations. So the next step is that we have our findings, and then we make recommendations. The recommendations go to the regional forester, Jim Pena, of Pacific Northwest Region 6, and so he has it right now. So we can't go into what we're suggesting the emergency treatments to be. And it's all about the E, it's all about emergency. The treatments are, imperative treatments that need to happen right now. So they aren't for 20 years from now, they're for right now. That's what we recommend. And so we can't say what we recommended because there could be changes. It might be tweaked this way or that way. But as soon as we can, we will let you know, what recommendations we've made, and you can see how it affects your property. Now we look at Forest Service land, system land, and what we found, that's a burn area severity map over there. See all that red? All that red is a high severity burn, which means that the roots are pretty well gone of the fine roots of the smaller plants are gone. The soil, water will beat up on the soil. It's been severely burned. There are these Ardenmont soils that are highly erodible when fire comes through. And that's a soil you have around here. And so those areas are going to slide more than any other areas, the red areas. It happens to be that a lot of those areas are in the top of the watershed, especially Mills Creek. And so there's a high likelihood that if we get an event that is significant, it could wash the soils down and present flooding and movement of debris. I brought you a bunch of things to look at. One is a news release that we put together that is preparing for rainfall events. Another is responding to post-fire threats. You have more of an idea of what the BEAR team does. This, by the way, was written by the BEAR team leader. He's famous. Greg Kamujian. This is from floodsmart.gov, and it's all about the flood or the fire, the risks, and what to do about it. 3 phases of wildfire rehabilitation. I talked to you about that. And these are all on that table. And have you heard about a natural resource fair that's going to be happening tomorrow night in Twisp? I know it's in Twisp, but this is something you might want to go to. There's 2 other events happening, and they are being hosted by the Okanagan Conservation District. This first one, tomorrow night in Twisp, it's like a fair, and there are going to be different tables and booths of different agencies and organizations that can help people after the fire. And if you're concerned about what could happen to your property after the fire, this is a really good place for you to be. So I have information on that there as well. One of the main messages is that the Natural Resource Conservation Service, their mission is to go and evaluate your property if you have a concern about landslides, and they can help you mitigate that. And so they're the people to contact for your private land. And also the local conservation district is very active with that as well. We'll be available afterwards, standing right by that map if you have any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Rebecca. And she's not kidding. Greg Kyungin is famous. I happened to work with Greg after the Cerro Grande fire in Los Alamos, New Mexico in 2000. We were essentially the BEAR team together. We had the 2 of us. We had 1 vehicle, 1 computer, and a budget of $6 million to spread seed and deal with flood and all that kind of stuff. So good times out with Greg back then. I want to say a few comments about maps before I turn it back over to Chris. This is a progression map of Duncan, and it kind of shows you how the fire grew throughout time since it started. And the other thing I want to mention about maps is pretty much our lifeblood for our map products is the infrared flight that we try to do each night. It's very tough to do when you have heavy cloud cover. Last night we weren't able to get a flight, and so the maps you're looking at are 24 hours or more old. It's probably unlikely we're going to get a good flight tonight because of all the weather that's coming through. So it may be another day before what Lonnie just talked about, those guys doing out there on the ground, shows up on the maps that we're able to post. So I hope you're patient with us. I hope you understand that that's the deal. And we'll do our best to get maps up, good maps up as quickly as possible. So Chris, close us out.
Thank you. I really don't have a lot more to consume your time, because so we can get out of the meeting structure and stay here. We're going to stay here as long as you want us to and talk with you about it. I would like to point out that this operation here, that the operations folks and what do you got up there, about 400 people, Bonnie? Okay, 400 people up there, either in logistics support and or operational support. This is a huge operation, a really good day. I'm not sure Lonnie's excited enough about how good this day is. He also scribbled me a little note as I was getting ready to stand up to inform me that the Entiat crew were the ones that did all the hand lighting along here. So as the aerial delivery of the little spheres that pop out and burn, as it was getting put in there by helicopter, the folks on the ground were from the Entiat Ranger Station down there. So that's totally cool. I just want to thank you for the chance to speak to you folks tonight, and we're looking forward to the dialogue, and we'll continue to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, folks. We're all here.
We're all here.
Come talk to
We're trying. We're putting our best. I'll tell you what. We feel pretty good. We feel pretty good.